Hey, good morning. My name is Kelty. Welcome to Friends Church. I don't know about you, but for me, September is always kind of about new beginnings. It's not January for me, it's September. And I think it's just hardwired about going back to school, new pencil crayons and a new sweater, new lunchbox. But it's hardwired for new beginnings. And I think, we have, through the summer, have been coming live to people in their homes, have had some people showing up here, and we've collected a whole bunch of new people. There's some people that I look out and I see and I recognize your eyes. There's other people who are new to me and I haven't seen before. If you're new here, or even if you're not, but you want to get more connected with people at Friends Church, you can go into our app and there's a connections card that you can fill out. And we would love to get to know you better. We can connect with you either live or we can do that virtually. But if you'd like to get to know people here and we would love to get to know you, we encourage you to complete that and fill that form out for us. While you're in there, the other thing that the app is good for, not only does it tell you what's going on around here, but it also allows you, if you have been here for a while and think that this is the place that you want to provide some financial support to and help support what we do here, you can do that in the app as well. You can do a one-time gift, or you can sign up for what we call pre-authorized giving, which just allows that consistency. So as an organization, we kind of have a good idea of how much money we have coming in and can tailor our programs to that. For those of you who are already donating, thank you so much. It is truly through your generosity that we are able to come to you here, live, through the cameras, to your home. That is what enables us to do that. So thank you very much. One more opportunity to get connected. Next Saturday, we will be doing a live gathering. Every year, we get a group of people together and we help clean up the river pathways. I imagine that many of you have put those river pathways to good use over the last 6 months. I know I have, getting outside. We're going to get together a group next Sunday around 12 o'clock and spend a couple of hours in a very socially distanced, open-air way, both getting to know each other and doing some good around our city. So we would encourage you to join us. You can sign up through the app there as well. Thank you so much and have a wonderful morning.
Thanks, Kelty. Yeah, isn't that great? I love the idea. So I always think of it as super stealth, making the world better. I clean up the park and people don't even know I was there, but they just walk through and think, oh, there's no trash, there's no garbage. So I'd encourage you to do it. It's a great way to, make the world a little bit better around you. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Vince. You probably know me by now. You know I always start by putting my hands in my pockets and put my toes over the edge of the stage. Somehow that makes me feel better. I don't know. Oh, boy. I told you guys a couple weeks ago about a friend of mine. He's a good guy. Hadn't seen him in probably a year. He's one of my dirt bike buddies. He's that guy who doesn't ride for a year and still comes and kicks our butts all over the place. He's that guy. But as we're getting set up, it's kind of all this masculine energy banter. And I said, dude, where have you been? I haven't seen you for a year. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. But then very quickly he said, okay, so I don't know if you know, but my dad's really sick. I said, what happened? It's like I was working on a motorbike, I needed a part, went to my dad's house. My dad poured out the bin of bolts. And as he's looking through the bolts to find the bolt I need, all of a sudden his breathing started to change. His hands started to shake really funny. And then as his dad tried to say, that's the bolt right there, just gibberish came out of his mouth. So imagine being in that moment. Actually, you know what? I think about this. Me and my wife, a couple years ago, we have a Murphy bed, and it hadn't been put together properly. And I stuck my hand inside of it and sat on the bed, and the spring mechanism released, and smoked my arm and just about cut my hand off. There's blood everywhere. It literally looks like there was a murder in our apartment. And it's all fine, for me, I just have to go to the hospital. They take care of me. But she's got to live through this experience of watching somebody else that you love go through something like that. It's kind of brutal, isn't it? He says he's sitting there with his dad, the rock, the anchor of his family. And his dad's having a stroke right in front of him. He says he took his dad's arms and he put him over his shoulder and he carried him into the house while they called 911. It's been 3 weeks since it happened. He finally got to visit his dad for the first time. I said, how's he doing? He says, well, this is kind of the, trench humor. He's like, he laughs like a pirate because he can't move one side of his face right now. So kind of like, har, har, har. I think it's my friend's way of just kind of being like, yeah, I don't know what to do with this. And it was strange in the moment. So if we go back to where he's first telling me the story, he's like, yeah, like literally my dad just had a stroke and we're trying to deal with that. And as I'm walking away, I'm half in my armor and he's over there and everyone's yelling at each other and making fun of each other. He says this interesting line. He says to me, he says, so yeah, you're kind of connected to the big guy, right? Why does stuff like this happen? First, I remember kind of walking a little further because I thought it was some more banter. They make fun of me all the time. They're always like, hey, you're connected to the big guy. We need better weather. Can you pray for that? That's their kind of joke with me. But for him, there's something deeper in that moment, right? Something in his dad's illness he can't deal with anymore. It's come to a head. This whole idea of, I believe in this idea of a God that could make my dad not be sick, but my dad is sick. What do we do with that? And we've all been there, right? And if this talk was just about what you think about God, and actually Jeff's talk next week is going to be about this exact issue. What do you think about God? I want to go underneath this topic. Because as my friend yelled at me across the parking lot and said, so, you who connected to the big guy, why do bad things happen to good people? My question in my head was this: how did it take this long for you to finally ask that question? In your mind, God looks like the old man in the sky who can magically change things. It's not my view right now. It might be your view. I don't know where you sit with this. Jeff will explore all that next week. But in his mind, his whole life he's grown up with this Simpsons kind of God, right? God's up in the sky and is like, okay, I like you, going to make things good for you. I don't like you, things are going to go bad. And now, finally, he has a moment that kind of makes him look at this thing and go, wait a second, is that what I actually believe? We just celebrated the anniversary of 9/11, right? 19 years ago, almost 3,000 people were killed when terrorists flew a plane into the Twin Towers. Brutal. I actually thought that was going to be the defining story of my generation. Then COVID, right? But still, 19 years ago, one of the most horrific acts of terrorism we have ever seen. Why did my buddy not be like, hey, Vince, what's up with the big guy and that? Every time somebody in his life got hurt, or he saw a story of somebody getting sick, or things going bad, why did he not say, hey, my conception of God says this shouldn't happen, but it's happening? What do we do with it? Why do we delay these questions? Think about the work. Think about some of the most foundational work you need to do. Questions you need to wrestle with, whatever it is. How is it that we delay working on this stuff? A friend of mine told me a story. I was telling her about this message. She said, oh man, you want to talk about delaying stuff? Let me tell you about my taxes. She's like, because of my life, I always get money back, and lots, like thousands of dollars back, and yet I delay doing my taxes like as long as humanly possible, possibly longer than that. Why? Because when she does her taxes, she has to look at a couple key things of her life. Her finances. It's right there in black and white, right? Everything's right there. Her connection to her ex-husband. She has to wrestle through all the choices she's made in her life, and it's right there in her taxes. And she just says, it's overwhelming. I can't deal with it. And so I delay getting thousands of dollars back because I don't want to deal with the foundational issue that shows up in my taxes. And she says, isn't that strange? Like, who does that? Anyone else delay all the important stuff because it's too hard? We don't want to deal with it, right? I said, can I tell you a story? She said, what? I said, it's a 4,000-year-old story. She says, okay. I can just see in her brain, she's thinking, how is this tied to my taxes? It's a story about us, though. It's a story about control. If you go back into the oldest stories from our tradition, the Christian tradition, there's a story of the Israelites. At one point, the stories go, they're part of Egypt, and then they escape Egypt. That's the whole plague thing, and then they cross the Red Sea. If you've ever seen the Charlton Heston movie, right? You know, Red Sea parting, super awesome. This story is they've crossed the Red Sea, and they're sitting there in the middle of nowhere in the desert, waiting. In my brain, it seems like they're in a pandemic, right? They're just waiting to see what happens next. But their view of God is really unique. In their view, if God likes you, if God's happy with you, life will go well. And if God's angry at you, things will go poorly. Sound familiar? And so what they do is they say, okay, Moses, who's our leader, that's Charlton Heston in the movie, you know, you go up on top of a mountain and see God. Their view of God, God's up on the mountain. You go up there and see God and figure out how we can not make God angry anymore so our lives go better. So they send Moses up, and then they wait. First couple hours, they're kind of like, 5 hours in, they're going, seriously, dude, what is taking you so long? It's not even that high of a mountain. Like, get up there, talk to God, get back down here, and let's figure this thing out. You just, the impatience, right? A couple days go by, still no Moses. They're starting to freak out. Anyone a controller? Don't put up your hand, but anyone? I want to figure out how to control my life, and if you can tell me how to not make God angry, I can control the stuff in my life. So, let's get on this. Days turn to weeks, finally a month. They're freaking out. What started off was impatience, then the desire to control, to get what they want. Now we're finally in this era where they're just afraid. What if I can't control this? Think about your own life. What if I'm going to be alone forever? What if I'll never be able to get the things that I want? What if the people I need around me don't give me what I need? What if I get fired from my job? What if? And here's the crazy part of the story, and this is why this story is my friend's story, and I think it's my story, and I think it's all of our stories. Because the people there, the story rates, they're looking at all these things that they need to work on, right? Impatience, the desire to control, fear. Those are the foundational issues that they're looking right at. But here's what they do. Instead of going, okay, we need to deal with this, folks. What are we doing here? What's going on? Why am I like this? Why is this freaking me out so much? Instead of doing that, here's what they do. They tell another leader, they say, make us a golden calf. And it's kind of like if the mountain represents the work they need to do, the foundational work, they put the calf right here. So they don't have to see the work they need to do. It distracts them from the actual work they need to do. And so then they spend this time talking to the calf. So they don't have to do the actual work they need to do. Anyone got a golden calf in their life? Mine is my brain. I've always been a really logical person. And if something comes up, something emotional comes up, something big comes up, I will think my way through it. I don't want to feel that crap. Don't be making me feel any of those feelings, right? My golden calf is my big ass brain, and I'm just going to look at my brain and focus there. So I don't have to deal with the actual work I need to do. Going through my divorce is when I realized the golden calf doesn't work. The distraction from the thing is just a distraction. The foundational work that we need to do is still sitting there. This whole series is designed to get you to focus there on the foundational issues of your life. What do you believe? What do you value? What are your ethics? How do you behave? Where do you go in your life? What's the goals of your life? How healthy are you as a human being? These are foundational issues that, man, I can outthink my way out of. Anyone? Or how about social media? Netflix binging, exercise, eating, drinking, smoking, working. We can come up with 1,000,000 golden calves that we can look at, and so that we don't have to deal with the foundational work that is there for all of us. The price I paid for my golden calf is a marriage. I'm betting if you looked through your life, you could look at the thing that you hide from the foundational work. Instead of having that conversation with the person you love and being like, okay, I need to have an honest conversation with you now because this isn't working and it's hard and it's crazy, but we need to talk about this. I don't even know what to do, but we got to talk about this. Instead, you have a nap. Can you think of all the ways these golden calves are actually destroying our lives? Because we're not doing the foundational work. I wasn't. Wasn't. Past tense. Yeah, good try, Clausen. I have a whole herd of golden calves that I like to keep right over here, so I don't have to deal with any of that shit, right? Here's the thing. If you can see your golden calf, if you can see when you're worshiping that thing and avoiding the foundational thing, that is a power that will change your life. If you can see when you're doing it, when I can see my big old brain firing up and okay, let's just rationalize these feelings away because I don't want to feel this crap. Hold on. What am I doing here? 12-step program. All you 12-steppers out there, God bless you. I think you guys have worked on this more than any of us have. Because your golden calf became really obvious at some part in your life, right? We all hide ours. Yours became one that you can't hide. And suddenly you're going, wait, my drinking, my eating, my sex addiction, whatever the thing is helping me not do the core work. And then you get to step 4. And what's the line you do? Fearless and ruthless inventory? No. You rip the scab off, you take the golden calf, you throw it in the corner, and then you do the work. Incredible. That's what I'm calling each of us to do today. When I say us, I don't mean you, I mean us. Every time I think I got that golden calf, I can see it, it's right there, and I'm not going to do it this time. 5 seconds later, I'm doing it again. If you can see your golden calf, the thing that you use to avoid the thing you actually need to do, the foundational work you need to do, it's like a superpower. We were in Kelowna a couple weeks ago, saw some friends we hadn't seen in years come in and start talking. And I can tell he wants to tell me something, but it's like I can't figure out what he's trying to say to me. But 20 minutes in, finally I'm like, oh, you're going to a counselor. Oh, and he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You can just tell he's so pumped up. He's like, I've spent my life snapping at my kids, avoiding the things I need to do, browbeating my wife into silence, changing jobs, blaming people, telling everyone else what they need to do. I spent my whole life doing that. You know what? My kids don't even want to be around me anymore. They walk in, I say, hey, and they go, hey, and then they just run to their room. He said, something's got to change. And so he said, a friend of mine told me about a counselor. And I went to this counselor, and I'm kind of like, how do I get I just hit my mute button. My bad. Can we just give a big shout out to all the tech team who do such amazing things? And we got Marco back there on sound, Esmond doing multimedia, Justin doing the stream, so thank you guys. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah. He's doing what we're doing, which is blaming everyone else. His golden calf was his brain, just like mine is. He's like, I can always take a problem and tell you why it's someone else's fault. Any situation, I can blame someone. I'm like, amen, brother. I know what you're doing. Any other people out there? It's my spouse, right? It's always them. If they just wouldn't, my kids. Because I sat down with my counselor and I didn't even know what I was there for. He said the counselor started going back. He'd bring up a problem and he'd be like, this thing happened, I'm so angry. And he'd be like, okay, when's the first time you felt that? He's like, no, like, here's the problem. This person said this, and the counselor was like, when's the first time you felt that? And they started going back into the history of his life. The time in his childhood when someone bullied him. The time when he was a teenager and no one would invite him out to the party. He had all these moments that were stuck inside of him. Foundational work. And when anyone dared to get even close to one of those things, or they even felt like one of those things, over here as an adult, man, he would blow up at them, he'd blame them, he'd come after them, he'd flap the handle. He said, I sat in that counselor's office and I bawled my bloody eyes out. And suddenly those things started to have less and less energy. I'd have moments where it'd almost be surreal. I'd be watching something go down in front of me and I'd be going, what is going on? I should be freaking out right now. And I'm not. His kids interact with him completely differently now. He's like, I don't get quiet time anymore. My kids want to hang out with me all the time. They're in their 20s. When does that happen? It so impacted his wife that she started going to counseling, started to work on her stuff. His was his brain. Hers was, no, she just shut everything off, turned the lights off. Click. Everything's fine. I'm going to go have a nap. Nothing to feel here, nothing to see, nothing to talk about. There's no conflict. I'll be whatever you need me to be. Her golden calf, being agreeable. Air quote, putting relationship first. That's how she avoided the work that says, wait a second, what do you need here? What do you want in this relationship? Their marriage, never been better. One of the guys at work, he was ready to quit his job. Just got the job in COVID. He got a job in COVID. It's like literally the unicorn, right? And he's like, I can't do this. This guy's such an a-hole, I can't deal with him. They're now best friends. When you do this foundational work, whether it's questioning your beliefs, working on your ethics, dealing with your values, working on your personal stuff, whatever the foundational work is, when you can not look at that golden calf and avoid it, when you can step in there and do the work, it changes everything. It just flows out of you. It's the Friends Church story. You will impact the people around you, will impact those people around them. And it just spreads out in this kind of like ripple of good. You clean up a park, kids play in it, have an amazing time, family reconnects, blah, blah, blah. It just keeps spreading. The thing, though, is those golden calves, we call them golden for a reason, because we really like them. Through this series, we're going to bring stuff up, and you're going to feel yourself do one of these. Oh, I don't need to deal with this. Ooh, I'm really tired this morning. Oh, I'm going to skip church. Spiritual gym, I don't need that. I'm good. Golden calf much? Right? Someone's going to bring up a question, and your brain's going to be like mine. I can logic that one into a hole. I don't need to deal with that shit. Right? Golden calf. I'm going to work. I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to let my emotions just overwhelm me. Because when I'm so dysregulated, I don't have to deal with anything. It's all golden calf stuff. And I wish I could sit here with each of you and say, okay, come sit with me. What's your golden calf look like? Or in my case, what does your many golden calves look like? I wish I could show each of you, but that's the work for each of you. To figure out what it is that you do that helps you avoid that core work of sobriety, of honesty, of living towards your values, of being willing to do the foundational work. A friend of mine, he's like, Vince, I need to redo, like I grew up in traditional religion, and I can't do it anymore. I'm like, okay, great. Well, like Friend Church, we're golden, right? He's like, no, I can't. My family will never understand. He says, when my kids bring up spiritual topics, I try and change the topic. You see, the work he needs to do in his religious life, spiritual life, the golden calf of his family is sitting right there. I can't do that work. My family won't like that. That won't feel good. He spent 3 years already sitting in this space of going, I can't deal with it, but I have to deal with it, but I can't deal with it, but I have to deal with it. Anyone resonate with that feeling? Today I want to encourage you. Identify the golden calves in your life. It feels like every time, the deeper the work that I do, the more I realize, oh, there's another golden calf. That's how I avoid that. Oh, there's the other way I did that. Oh yeah, I always do it that way, right? So I don't have to do it that way because that one's scary. If you can identify the golden calf in your life, if you're willing to put that aside this next 7 weeks, we will push you into the deep end. We'll ask you to ask the tough questions. We'll get you to wrestle with that. And if you don't let your golden calf come in and distract you, things will change. You will change. And whenever you change, the world around you changes. So we have an opportunity today to make a choice and say, I'm going to put my golden calves aside. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to let that change the world around me. My friend's one decision to go see a counselor changed his entire family. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty inspiring story for me. So let me leave you with this. Send me a note. I'll put my email up on the screen. Send me your questions. Send me your stories. If you think this is a story that no one's ever heard, let me tell you, there's stories from the last 4,000 years of people building golden calves to avoid the foundational work they need to do. It's part of the human tradition, I think. But I encourage you, identify that golden calf. Put it aside. If you want some homework, find someone to talk about today. Talk about your golden calf with them. If you think you don't have one, ask someone you love. They'll tell you. Make sure you have a calm demeanor before they okay, well, let's spend the next 6 hours telling you about golden calves, right? But if we can let this go, we can change the world. And isn't that what this is all about? Next week, Jeff's going to go deep into this idea of God. I used it as just one story. A friend's idea of God has undermined his spirituality for his whole life. Never was willing to deal with it. Until now. I'd encourage you to come back. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week at the Parkway cleanup or here. Yeah, no golden cows this week. See you guys.